All right, welcome everybody. Today is the Konflux community call. It is Thursday, June 18th. We have one topic on the agenda. We are not necessarily surprised that there aren't more people here because there's DevConf and Brno happening. But just as a reminder, by participating in this meeting, you agree to abide by the code of conduct that we have published. And with that, we have one topic on the agenda, that's Mikola, and I assume, well, and then we can also summarize or re-notify on the results of the election, which Iftach closed the issue for. But Mikola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrew. So I would like to ask you guys to review an ADR that I've created. So it was discussed previous meeting, but again, so I created ADR and insert. So it basically states that we need to remove all the appstudio legacy naming and related legacy naming. We should get rid of it and replace it with corresponding Konflux CI .dev. In different places we use that's primarily labels and annotations and finalizers on Kubernetes objects. So currently there is no strict rules on how we form the, let's say, finalizer or label name. So I decided not to make it stricter than it used to be. So basically, it's possible to have something like build.confluxci dev/something, or it's still possible to have confluxci dev/build-something else. So I'm not restricting here, but yeah, if you think that we should, so please leave a note in pull request that it will be further discussed. But because those labels and annotations quite often used cross components in Konflux, we need to have a proper migration. And this process could be like interesting, let's say, because we need to synchronize different services. The idea is pretty standard here. First, we support both old and new naming, so actually duplicating labels and annotations. Then we teach our controllers and other parties to read new annotations instead of old. That would give time frame for change without breaking users. And finally, so we remove old support of old labels and annotations from all the controllers, so they are not falling back to old ones if new one we missing. And yeah, finally, we just remove all the outdated data from the objects. But the process allows a few exceptions to this migration plan. First of all, for the new application component model, we can use the new labels and annotations from the start. That's up to developers, but it seems to me logical to have new stuff in the new model without, carrying on legacy stuff to the new model. It seems reasonable, and in this case, we should handle those labels annotations migration when we migrate schema from the old to the new model. But yeah, it's anyway migration and should be in the end smooth to end users. Also, there are two more exceptions. So first, if this label or annotation is used only by single service, so for example, if we have some annotations that is used only by the operator and keeps the state, so we can, if we're sure that no one is using it, so we can migrated immediately, let's say. And the same is true if those are different services, but they are all internal again. So we change, let's say, two operators that use the same label, and we do it simultaneously. So we roll out the update to prod, like two new versions of both of operators, and yeah, they communicate just in the new way. So those are two exceptions. And obviously, all the documentation needs to be updated. That's very, like maybe not very brief recap, but main points that I wanted to say. So please take a look at full text and leave comments if you have any questions. Okay, then I guess that's it from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting to the mute. I do have a question. I know that for some specifications, if there's like a URI, typically that URI should be resolvable to like a website. And so if we're doing like konfluxci.dev, if we're changing between build.konfluxci or build.konfluxci.dev or konfluxci.dev/build, like would we ever expect one of those two to be resolvable? Because I mean, I don't think that is the case today. But like, is that a way that's generally viewed to try and publish the API? I only know this in terms of like writing specifications, where if you have some URI, then that's generally good practice. But is that, how is that for APIs within CRDs?
Thank you, Andrew, for the question. So currently, I don't have any requirements to make like the name resolvable because, as I said, I don't want to put it stricter than it used to be, at least within this ADR, unless like community really wants to. So in my original intent, it was like just replacing appstudio with Konflux CI-DAV, whichever form it is used now. But since we are doing migration, we can take a chance and rename the label name or annotation name or finalizer name. But those are usually internal resources that are used in to pass some information between services of Konflux. So usually end users don't deal with those. Like they might see them in, let's say, a component or image repository, but those are not links per se. So.
I mean, I was wondering more if there's a best practice around it, because like, you don't have to have it as a requirement. But if there's a best practice, then we could state that that is the best practice within the ADR. So if teams have to make this change anyway, then they could make it to be consistent with whatever the best practice is. If there's no best practice, then that's fine. It's just I wasn't aware of.
The only best practices I'm aware of is the standard Kubernetes naming conventions for labels and annotations. That's just it.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, if there are any, so I haven't reviewed the ADR yet, but if there are any best practices in the space, then we can at least state what those best practices are. For people, like if I were ever to write something, I wouldn't know what the best practices are, so I wouldn't know where to start. So that might be helpful for me. It might be information that other people already know. So, all right, thanks, Miklo.
Thank you. I think we can add link to Kubernetes best practices just to not to copy paste, the text. So sync link would be sufficient as a recommendation, not a requirement.
Right.
Okay, thank you. We'll do it.
Thanks. One moment, I'm typing and trying to. I just added something on the. Or I just added the votes being into the election or to the meeting notes. And I'm just trying to share my tab really quick. Thanks, Iftach, for running this.
No problem.
Here we go. So as he reported 5 hours ago, there are 36 votes, so that's an awesome number of people that voted. I guess I got 24 and Gal got 12. So thanks everybody who voted, and Iftach already opened PR, so we'll get that updated as well. Does anybody have any feedback for the process, how it went this year? I saw that there are a couple people that joined the mailing list to be able to vote yesterday.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other topics for the call today? If there's no topics, I won't be here next week. But I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
You. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.